You're listening to Tipping Point Radio. I'm Craig Merriweather, and this is Emergence. I'd like to start off today's show with a quote by John Steinbeck. He said, "It is a common experience that a problem difficult at night is resolved in the morning after the committee of sleep has worked on it." There is a rich collection of examples throughout history of how the world's most creative practitioners in art, music, film, science, literature, and other fields have used the revelations of their dream life to inform their work. But can we all tap into this unconscious source of creativity, ideas, and information to make a better life? Well, scientific research confirms that yes, we can. Today on the show is Dr. Deirdre Barrett. Dr. Barrett is on the psychology faculty of Harvard Medical School and is past president of the International Association for the Study of Dreams and of the American Psychological Association's Society for Psychological Hypnosis. She has written 4 books: The Committee of Sleep, How Artists, Scientists, and Athletes Use Their Dreams for Creative Problem Solving and How You Can Too, The Pregnant Man, and Other Cases from a Hypnotherapist's Couch, Wasteland, The Revolutionary Science Behind Our Weight and Fitness Crisis, and Supernormal Stimuli, How Primal Urges Overran Their Evolutionary Purpose. She's the editor of 4 academic books, Trauma and Dreams, The New Science of Dreaming, Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy, and the Encyclopedia of Sleep and Dreams. She's editor-in-chief of the journal Dreaming, the journal of the Association for the Study of Dreams, and a consulting editor for Imagination, Cognition, and Personality, as well as the International Journal for Clinical and Experimental Hypnosis. She has been featured on NBC, Life Magazine, Self, Good Morning America, The Today Show, CNN, Fox, the Discovery Channel, and Voice of America. Now here's my interview with Dr. Deirdre Barrett. Hello, Dr. Barrett. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, really fascinating topic, dreams, and I think the best way to start is just explaining what it is. You know, Freud said dreams were this wish fulfillment. There's even this a newer theory going around saying it's more like a threat simulation our minds are going through. I heard in school that it was the subconscious mind organizing the day's information. That's what dreams are all about. So maybe you could set the record straight and explain what dreams actually are.
Well, when you get answers ranging from wish fulfillment to threat simulation, I think it's obvious that those are just diametric opposites. There's something wrong with the question, or at least the assumption of thinking that it's going to boil down to one simple thing. I mean, we'd never say, what is waking thinking for, or what is waking thinking, at least, and expect one simple answer. So I think that's how we get all these diverse, completely contradictory theories. I really believe that dreaming is just thinking in a different biochemical state, and our which brain areas are active differ very much, which neurotransmitters are in abundance differ a lot, but we're still ourselves, and we still have all of our usual thoughts and concerns. And so I think you've got wish fulfillment going on. I think you've got threat simulation going on. We're just thinking about all our desires and fears and personal issues, but even professional issues. So it's just this very altered kind of thinking.
Okay, it's altered thinking, but in your book, you say we're able to use this kind of altered thinking, I would say strange thinking, in ways to enhance our creativity.
Yes. I mean, I'm not in the camp, and there is one that sort of thinks dreams are automatically wiser than waking thought. But just because it's such a different mode of thought, kind of by definition, if you're really stuck in using your usual waking linear logic, dreams are often taking a different approach. And what I found in my research is that almost any kind of problem can occasionally get solved in a dream. That, like people who think about abstract mathematics all the time or are composing music, actually get some very different content in their dreams than the rest of us would ever have. But nevertheless, there are 2 areas that seem to get the most help from dreams, and those are any sort of problem where vivid visualization is useful. Most people can hallucinate so much more completely in their dreams than in their waking imagery. And that's very useful for certain kinds of problem solving. And then secondly, anytime the person hasn't solved the problem because it requires thinking outside the box, because the conventional wisdom is wrong in this case, and so whatever the person has been taught to do and all their peers would do is just wrong this time, that dreams are much likelier to think in much broader, looser ways, and the area of our brain that's responsible for censorship, not just in the Freudian sense, but in the no, that's not the way to solve that problem. That area called our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is much less active. So we don't censor ourselves on no, not that way as fast. So that's very helpful to those unusual problems where you need to think outside the box for them.
So is it possible to, there's people who say, I had a problem, I went to bed with this problem, and in the morning I had the answer. Is the mind literally coming up with the answer overnight? Was the answer always there? Is that where the dreams are coming in, is processing that question?
Well, I think several different things happen. There are definitely many dreams where you see a problem getting solved. The person is focused on it, and in the course of the dream makes this breakthrough. But I also found in my research other dreams where it looks sort of like the problem is solved by the start of the dream, like another character is trying to mime it or show it to the dreamer as character, and it's taking a little while, but it really doesn't happen in the dream. It's more the communication of the answer that happens in the dream. And so I think that sometimes, especially for the visualization, three-dimensional problem solving, that it's often really getting solved in the dream state because of the dream state. But then I think also because of the lack of censoring out there sorts of ideas, and because we don't have to tune into all our usual sensory input, that it's a time when other parts of ourself that don't get conscious attention very often can reach consciousness. So I think some dreams are just communicating something that some part of the mind already knows and the waking consciousness hasn't gotten. And then for your example of waking up knowing the answer in the morning, I think there's a third set of things that happen, that some of those wake up and know the answer, even if you don't recall a dream, might be a forgotten dream, because I did get many examples of people who woke up just thinking the answer was there for no explicable reason, and then as they started carrying out some writing it down or doing something with it, they suddenly got this deja vu of, wait a minute, I dreamed this. So some of those may be lost dreams, but I think that sleep is restorative in all sorts of ways. So some of those, I've got the answer in the morning, may be due to other parts of sleep besides dreaming.
So why is this impossible to find the answer, or not? Okay, maybe impossible is the wrong word, but why is it more difficult to find the answer when we're awake? When we sit down at at our table with a pad of paper and a pencil and say, okay, I'm going to solve this problem, and 2 hours later you got nothing, you go to sleep, you get the answer in the morning.
Well, I wouldn't say it's more difficult awake. I think that we do much more problem solving awake than we do in our dreams, proportionally. Again, I'm not in the camp that thinks dreams are just automatically wiser and better. I think that just like with our waking thought, that a lot of dream thinking is repetitive, circular, minor, trivial stuff that, that's not going anywhere and is not very important. That's true of, waking or dreaming. But I think that it's when we are stuck on a problem awake. I think that our waking logic and ways of approaching problems awake work very well for us the majority of the time. But when we get stuck, it is often because we're approaching the problem in the wrong way, but often because most people would approach it the wrong way because the conventional wisdom is wrong. So I think that on those kinds of problems, the dream is inherently better because of that thing I just said about the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex being less active, and so we don't go no, like the Kekulé benzene ring model. You don't go, oh no, it has to be a straight line with right angle side chains. You can see it as a closed ring potentially. So I think that's why one set are more easily solved in dreams, because we've become stuck on them, and any other approach would be likelier. And then secondly, the visualization ones, I think that although we can build models, we can draw in 3 dimensions, in our dreams we can really see things that are not there in 3 dimensions, and our brain is manipulating them in ways that only a few people with very vivid imagery can do awake.
So why do they have to be so bizarre, our dreams? Because if you're looking for an answer to a question, why wouldn't the dream just be you're walking into a building, you go to the information desk, and your favorite, beautiful, gorgeous movie star gives you the answer?
I think that some of the reasons that dreams are so bizarre and different from our waking experience may be based on demands of REM sleep that don't really have much to do with the dreaming experience. Everything from mammals, up our evolutionary branch has rapid eye movement sleep, and that's when most dreams are occurring. And there's evidence that is necessary for all sorts of body processes that have to do with temperature regulation and turning off certain neurotransmitter systems so they can be replenished, while ones that don't deplete as much by day are still very active. So I think that a lot of why dreams are so visual and not as verbal has a lot to do with some other physiologic demands of REM sleep. But then once we're in this state, I think we make very, very, very good use of it. And so I think that for human beings, there are just all sorts of functions to this state of consciousness that have been layered on since the beginning of mammal history, on up to us, and that it's got some very psychological and cognitive and problem-solving functions for us.
Well, one of the interesting things you go into in your book, The Committee of Sleep, is how dreams can actually help us in the future. So a lot of dreams may be just processing information from the past and just kind of replaying something that happened yesterday or a week ago or a month ago, years ago. But you're talking about how dreams can help tell us about a future path we may take. If I'm asking that right.
Yes, I think just because the dream thinking is so original and creative that and again, that we're not censoring out sort of no, not that. Our dreaming mind is not as conservative as our waking mind generally. So that helps us see all sorts of future possibilities. And it's not that all of them are valid, sound ones that we should be following. One certainly wants to reflect on one's dreams once one's awake, and there are plenty of dreams that would obviously be goofy to take completely literally in carrying out. But still, many of them, either provide something that literally would make sense as a future path, or that metaphorically would help us see something.
Well, it comes to mind. The story comes to mind about. I guess it's more just even the body, giving a signal to the conscious mind. But you talk about a patient who had a dream of it was like a panther piercing him just to the left of his spine, kind of over by his shoulder blades, and then a few months later they found cancer there.
Yes, and it was a black panther, and it was a melanoma, probably significantly. Yeah, when looking through the medical literature, I found that there are lots more warning dreams about diseases that develop slowly. I know that some other theorists would interpret these as sort of precognitive, but I'm really struck that they don't seem to happen very often for the kinds of disorders that come on in a matter of minutes to hours, where the body doesn't know it before the conscious mind could know it. And they're just rich, vast numbers of examples for cancer, which is a disease that usually takes years to develop microscopically before we're clinically diagnosed with it. And our immune system is responding to cancer cells even when it's not completely successful in keeping them at bay. It has sensed them and it's trying. And tumors often press on nerves or, are affecting the body before they're obvious. And similarly, a lot of neurodegenerative diseases, nervous system things that happen very slowly, and it's not for months to years that a person may actually develop a symptom from something that's been deteriorating in their nerve tissue or slow infections happening. And all of those diseases that come on slower are the ones where you see these dreams just telling the person. The example I found most dramatic for cancer was a series from a young woman who had dreams that sort of talked about people can die at any moment, and then begin to allude to bad growths, very, very vague kinds of dreams. And then finally she had a dream where she was trying to sign up for a class, and someone said, you need a check. She was trying to pay cash. You need a check to make this deposit. And she didn't have her checkbook. And then finally the dream character says, you need a check. You need to get checked for cancer now. And she woke up. And she turned out to have a very small early stage melanoma that was in that unusual category that are 95% curable if they're found before they penetrated past the first skin level. So it was like her dreams were sort of trying, and then finally they found some language and said it.
Okay, but why doesn't that happen for everybody? See, I love those kind of stories. The body is trying to tell the conscious mind through the only way it knows how, apparently, that there's something you need to deal with medically or creatively, and we'll get to that in a moment. But it seems like these stories are maybe more exceptional than just what happens in everyday life. Why doesn't everybody get these kind of pronouncements from their dreams?
Well, that woman was keeping a daily dream journal. She probably had higher than average dream recall, and she was definitely writing down all her dreams. And she actually didn't pay any attention to any of the others that in retrospect she saw as having to do with the body part and growths, and, sort of once she knew she had cancer and where it is, a number of her dreams right before that seemed very related, but it wasn't till that one was that overt that she got it. So she sort of might not have known about a lot of them if she was not writing down her dreams and if she was not such a high dream recaller. So I think that, like I say, those stories are relatively common within diseases that develop slowly, but it's still not like they're happening, at least happening and catching the attention of half the people that have them. So some of it is we don't remember a lot of our dreams. In Western society, we don't pay very much attention to our dreams for the most part. In most tribal societies, there is more automatically an idea that dreams may be conveying information, and if people dreamed something about a disorder, they would more automatically wonder if they might be sick and, sort of tell this to the medicine man of the tribe. Whereas in the West, I think even if we have dreams about being sick, we tend to just, say, oh, that was a really weird, bad dream I had last night, or, I guess I shouldn't eat so close to bedtime, I'm having nightmares, as a response to some dream about having a disease. So we don't attend to them a lot, but certainly dreams don't pick up everything we'd like them to. I'm back to saying, I'm not saying dreams are wiser or better than waking thought on average. If you had to have only one or the other, I'd sure go with your waking reasoning ability. But dreams are just a great supplement to it for many people.
Well, you brought up an interesting point about Western culture and non-Western culture. In Western culture, dreams, there are people who do dream journals and look very heavily at their dreams, but not a lot of people do, and it's an interesting thing for some people, but most people probably just kind of shrug it off as something that strange that happened during the night, a weird story appeared during your dreams. But in non-Western cultures, thinking of Aboriginals in Australia, when they go into their dream time, or shamans in other cultures where they use some sort of trance state to go into a dream kind of world to find the answers. And so, yes, you would, if you had a dream, you would go to somebody who maybe was a shaman or maybe a religious figure of some sort and talk to them about it. And we don't do that here in the United States.
No, we don't. And I haven't examined it in terms of medical intuition dreams as specifically, but just for other problem-solving dreams, I have done research that's not just the retrospective, anecdotal, find out what happens naturally, but I've had people trying to solve a particular problem by incubating a dream on it. I've done that both with brain teasers, and I've done that with college students, just letting them pick some objective problem, like a homework problem that they need to solve anyway, but working on it only by going over it very briefly at bedtime and telling them they want to dream a solution. And I do find that there's a big increase when people are consciously self-suggesting that they want to dream about a problem and doing this dream incubation and writing their dreams down. It greatly increases the number of problem-solving dreams for these relatively modest size little problems. So I suspect that would generalize solving personal problems, perhaps to more sensing of this sort of medical thing. I mean, with the medical issues, some of it may be that some people's bodies are picking up on the disease in more ways, and someone else's body may be more completely unaware of it at all levels. So I'm not sure that would respond exactly analogous, but the dream incubation at bedtime certainly seems to do something like what tribal societies are already doing by valuing their dreams and expecting answers from them.
Well, what exactly do you need to do dream incubation? If somebody's listening to this and they say, okay, well, I want to start focusing on what my dreams may be telling me, what's a good process to work on?
Well, you first want to formulate the problem as just a simple phrase, because when language gets into dreams, it's usually pretty simple language. So come up with a sentence or a question or a phrase that is the question or problem or topic that you want to focus on, and have that written out and look at that and go over that and repeat it to yourself at bedtime, telling yourself that you want to dream on that problem, question, topic. And then secondly, to form some kind of visual image of it, because that's likelier to get into the dreams are so visual. So come up with a vivid visual image of your problem or question. And for people who don't have very good visual imagery, you might want to do something concrete instead, like have a photograph that represents the problem visually, or construct a little bunch of objects on your night table, or something visual to look at if you're not a good visualizer. So have the phrase, tell yourself you want to dream about it, visualize it, or simply staring at your real little visual preparation as the last thing before you turn off the lights, and then keep telling yourself as you fall asleep that you want to dream on this topic. And that's all you have to do at bed. But it's equally important what you do in the morning, which is, first of all, to have the old-fashioned technique is a pad and pen by the bed, but in the days of smartphones, with voice activation, some way of either writing or dictating your dream. And make sure that when you wake up, that's the first thing your mind turns to is, did you have a dream? And go over the dream in your mind and record it verbally or write it down. And if you clearly have a dream. If you don't think you have a dream, still lie there for a minute and just notice if you woke up with a particular image or mood or thinking about your brother, just anything that you woke up with. Because sometimes staying with that for a moment, a whole dream will come flooding back. Oh, wait a minute, I was dreaming about my brother. Or, oh, wait, I'm feeling so sad because this thing just happened in my dream. And dreams that would otherwise be lost are often sort of right there at the threshold of consciousness when we first wake up. So you need to practice not turning your attention to anything else, not leaping out of bed immediately as the waking end of that process. And that generally increases the number of dreams on topics that people want, or again, when they're fairly easy questions like I did with my college students, in the course of 1 week, half of them dreamed about their chosen topic, and about 1/3 had a dream that solved it. Now, it won't be that high for extremely complex scientific problems, but the rate of just having a dream on a topic will probably, that 50% within a week of doing it is pretty accurate.
Well, the command to yourself as you're going to sleep to remember dreams, or to, here's a problem I want to work on, sort of reminded me of maybe a hypnotic suggestion, which kind of falls into another category, another discipline that you've done a lot of work in, a lot of research with, and that's hypnotherapy. And there's kind of, in my non-scientific, non-professional mind, seems to be a correlation between the work you're doing with dreams and the work you've done with hypnotherapy. Yes, and
personally, I even combine them when I'm working with clients or doing a workshop. I sometimes induce a hypnotic trance and then give suggestion about nighttime dream content, because I think it's especially for people who are highly hypnotizable, it's even more effective. But fortunately for people wanting to try it on their own, the sort of hypnagogic state, as we call it, as you're falling asleep, is already a little bit trance-like. You're more relaxed, your imagery gets a little more vivid, but not as vivid as once you're fully asleep. And give yourself suggestions about anything, even if you were trying to quit smoking, which isn't going to, you're not going to be smoking during the night. It's still a good time to do imaging about being a non-smoker and give yourself those suggestions because of the suggestibility. But then for influencing dreams, it's doubly effective because it's both a suggestive time and it's the time closest to actually dreaming that we can possibly do it.
Is there a way that someone can, increase their dream recall? Or even start dreaming more. I mean, I know you talked about the evening suggestion, but I had this strange thing where I don't really remember my dreams. I'm assuming I dream, but I read an article about you, and I got very interested, and I was looking at your book, and for like 5 days, all of a sudden I started having these vivid dreams that I remembered in the morning, which I haven't done that for years. So I must be dreaming all the time, most of the time, or is there a way to kind of increase my recall in the morning?
Well, yes, and people are dreaming much more than they recall. We have a period of REM sleep every 90 minutes. So someone who sleeps 8 hours is probably having 3 to 5 periods of dreaming. And actually the easiest way for the average person to increase dream recall, it sounds really boring, but getting enough sleep, which most Americans don't, is actually a great way to increase dream recall. And some people do notice that if they've been losing sleep and they sort of do a catch up on the weekend, that's when they have their dream recall, because we dream every 90 minutes, but the first time we go into REM sleep, it's just for a few minutes, and then the second time it becomes longer. So if you sleep 4 instead of 8 hours, you're not getting half your REM time, you're getting less than a fourth of it. So just plain getting enough sleep is the single best improvement for the typical person. But then beyond that, what you remarked on is really common, that when people read a book about dreams, every time I teach a class on dreams, my students are telling me that all of a sudden they're remembering more. The ones who said on the first day, "Oh, I don't recall many dreams," are suddenly remembering more. Just listening to this radio show, somebody will be somewhat likelier to, remember a dream tomorrow morning. So paying attention to them, anything that stimulates you to think about them, but then definitely that very intentional bedtime incubation is probably the most powerful of the ways of paying attention. But people who want to generally do increase their dream recall.
Well, Dr. Barrett, I so appreciate you being on the show. I want to let everybody know the name of the book is The Committee of Sleep: How Artists, Scientists, and Athletes Use Their Dreams for Creative Problem Solving, and How You Can Too. You can find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You ask for it at your local bookstore. Dr. Barrett, I so appreciate your time and talking with me today, and I hope to have you on the show again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very nice talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Barrett. I appreciate it.
Bye.